If you had your choice of Tomlin or John Harbaugh for the Giants, and there's no compensation that has to be given to the Steelers,
right.
you just hire everything. All things are equal.
Yeah.
It just comes down to Harbaugh or Tomlin. Who do you want?
I would go Tomlin, but I don't mean that as any disrespect to John Harbaugh. You know, I've been saying I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't know John Harbaugh like I know Mike Tomlin, and I guess that's just where I guess I'm a little biased, just as I know what I'm exactly going to get there. So I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I'd love to have either one. I'm a big fan of John Harbaugh, certainly, but yeah, I guess I favor Tomlin. I guess just because of my personal bias there a little bit.
Does it bother you at all? And I've gotten an email already from somebody who clearly falls into the
Tomlin hater Pittsburgh
Tomlin
fan.
Camp. Right. He has no coaching tree.
Yeah.
Does it trouble you that Mike Tomlin has no coaching tree?
No, I mean, not really. I think if there's been one thing you can really get on him about is he hasn't had the best eye for hiring the right offensive coordinator, right? If there was one thing I can look at and go, man, if there was one thing he could have been better at that I dissect all the decisions he makes, that would be it. As far as the other stuff, no, it doesn't bother me, right? He's kind of an older coach. He knows how the team and how he wants it to be coached. He's kind of always brought older guys in with him to kind of run the defense and do that, because I think he knows too, wait, these guys aren't looking to be head coaches and not that, and we can work as a team and do things the right way. So, again, maybe it's a little bit, but, as we could sit here and talking about John Harbaugh, I don't think, his coaching tree is getting a ton of jobs out there either, right? There's a few, maybe one or two, but it doesn't seem to happen as much with defensive coaches as offensive coaches for a myriad of reasons.
Todd Bowles has a coaching tree, or more accurately, Baker Mayfield has a coaching tree that's doing pretty well. Both coaches on the Mayfield-Bowles coaching tree are in the are in the playoffs or were in the playoffs, as the case may be. Here's my take on it. And this is one of the realities of the Steelers that doesn't get discussed very much. Art Rooney is far more involved in that team than he claims credit for or gets blamed for. He doesn't try to make it look like he's got a big old ladle down at the bottom of the stew. And when things go sideways, he doesn't get blamed. And I'm not saying he's engineered it that way. He doesn't seem like he's trying to avoid blame. He just does what he does. He's involved with that team. And I think that some of the hires that Mike Tomlin has made over the years weren't made
totally by
Mike
him.
Tomlin.
Right. That's always been a thing we've discussed.
I think
he doesn't have
some
full
of the
control
decisions,
there. Right.
No. And I mean, when they brought Todd Haley, I'll go all the way back to 2012. Because one of the reasons that there was a lingering issue between Bruce Arians and Mike Tomlin, as Arians has told the story, Tomlin told him when his contract was up, you're coming back, getting you a new contract. Tomlin goes to see the boss. Tomlin comes back to Arians. Sorry, I couldn't get you a new contract. Now, Arians was upset at Tomlin. The reality is he should have been upset at the boss. Tomlin didn't deliver, but it just shows you who has the juice or had the juice in Pittsburgh. Art Rooney ultimately had the oranges in Pittsburgh. He's the one that was making those decisions. And when they brought Todd Haley back, there was this romantic, old school notion. Todd Haley's dad had worked for the team for all these years, and let's bring Todd back, even though Ben Roethlisberger wanted nothing to do with Todd Haley, and Todd Haley wanted nothing to do with Ben Roethlisberger, and Mike Tomlin had to make that work. I think there have been multiple examples over the years of assistant coaches that Tomlin didn't have the kind of discretion to hire that other coaches have. And it's never an issue in Pittsburgh for whatever reason. Art Rooney II doesn't stand out there and say, look at what I have done. And also, the people who cover the team and in turn the fans don't go looking to blame Art Rooney whenever things go sideways. That's just the way it is. That may be regarded by some Steelers fans as news. It's not. If you pay attention to the Steelers like I do and have for 50 years, and you compare how the Steelers do business to everybody else, it's not a revelation. So you could argue that Mike Tomlin's success, in spite of the fact that he doesn't get to pick his own staff, becomes even more impressive, given that none of those assistants have gone on to be head coaches elsewhere, except for Bruce Arians after he was let go by the Steelers, interim head coach in Indianapolis, and then that laid the foundation for his coaching career relatively late in life.
No, I think you're something that we've discussed a lot, right? It's where we've stuck up for Mike Tomlin because we've made that point before that we don't know. He's not exactly in charge of the whole stew there as far as everything that goes on in Pittsburgh. And, to your point, yes, he's kind of just been the king. And the king was going to have things run through him in all ways as far as the coaching goes. And it kind of always kind of felt like that, right? They have had some other good defensive minds in there, but, a lot of these guys have been a little bit older in age and aren't looking to go on and become a head coach and do stuff like that. So I think also that was a little bit of maybe tactical on him, too, to not want that guy all the time. It's a pain in the butt. Talk to coaches who got guys that are always leaving every year. It's annoying. It's like, oh my gosh, all right, I'm at the end of this season and I already got started thinking about next year who's going to be my new defensive coach, my new offensive coach. It's unsettling. So at times some of these coaches do settle for other guys to go, I think he'll just be a good soldier. He's not going to be looking for a new job and he just wants to be here, have a job and call the defense or call the offense and do that. And I think, there's probably some success to that formula that goes along with that as well.
Something I'd never thought of until just now. When Mike Tomlin became the head coach of the Steelers in 2007, He arrived as an expert in the Tampa 2 defense.
Right.
The Steelers ran the 3-4.
Yeah.
Dick LeBeau stayed as the defensive coordinator.
There you go.
And it was heralded as something that was very forward-thinking and selfless from Mike Tomlin. It could be that Tomlin was told, you want this job, here's how it's going to be.
Right.
We're going to continue to run a 3-4. Dick LeBeau is going to continue to be the coordinator. You'll be the head coach of the team, but we're not going to do. I know that's your preferred defense. I know that's how you've positioned yourself to become a head coach. We're not running that defense anymore. We're gonna stick with what we do here. And hey, the job is attractive enough that you say, okay, if that's what you want, okay. Because you know what? I'm going to probably work here for 19 years. So I'll do whatever you want. And there's some of that. And I think that's important. We need to put a pin in it for now.
Well, then it goes to Keith Butler. And then it goes from there, to your point, where it's just like, hey, we got a thing going here, and we got a little of a pipeline. And I think also, too, it shows you he has no ego, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. And he came in and went, I don't run this defense, but damn, this defense is pretty good. They know how to coach defense here for a long time. You know what? I'll learn some of what they do, and I'll learn that and become an expert in that along with what I know, and hopefully we can combine forces a little bit to a degree. And that's where, okay, now it's Keith Butler. So, again, to the Pittsburgh Mike Tomlin hater that's on your email, a little of this was set up to go that way. And you certainly weren't complaining about the defense back then when they were kicking the shit out of everybody. And, yeah, the guy didn't go on to become a coaching tree or whatever else. But, as we know, the fans weren't worried about the defense then. There was no problem, right? So, again, I think it's a little bit of a Monday morning quarterbacking with some of that, and there's a lot of context, I think, that goes on in that situation to what you're explaining and I'm trying to explain.
And to the credit of Mike Tomlin, Art Rooney II, Omar Khan now, Kevin Colbert before him, nobody leaks, nobody talks, nobody complains, nobody's trying to claim credit, nobody's trying to shift blame. That doesn't happen. They have a properly functioning, take notes, Jimmy Haslam, a properly functioning front office and organization in Cleveland where everyone's on the same page. Now, have the results been great in recent years? No, but it hasn't been a complete and total mess either. And I think the Steelers are one of the few teams. When Art Rooney II says we want to win the Super Bowl each and every year, they mean it. They don't tear it down because they think there's a way. If we can just patch this and just patch that, maybe we can do it. Instead of that big step back that hurts for a while but lays the foundation for what's to come. Like they saw in 1969, 1970. You had a couple of high picks and you lay the foundation. You make a historic run of acquisition of talent in the 74 draft, multiple Hall of Famers, you lay the foundation. But we'll see where that goes. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.